Hello and welcome everyone to today's Lunch and Learn webinar. We're going to give everybody just a few minutes to go ahead and get some people in here and settled in. I know everybody's probably connecting to audio here. If you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and put that in the Q&A or chat. It looks like we do have a few pre-submitted questions for today, so I won't go over those until they join with us here. But if anybody who's already here has any, feel free to go ahead and post them. All right, it looks like Mansoor has joined us. I wanted to go ahead and I know he's got a pre-submitted question, unless somebody else has already, oh, Vineet, I need to download multi-tabs from a data into PDF file download. Can you come off mute and you want to go ahead and tell me a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah. So,
okay, perfect.
Hi, good morning. So,
good morning.
So I have a requirement like I have a multi-tab form, and the customer can fill the details in all different tab, and then I need to have a functionality. If we click on that download, it should download that multi-tab the data in the PDF file.
Okay, so is it not downloading the data information, or is it not loading the tabs, or none of it?
So what happened is I have created this by using the tab container and all, but the data it's not downloading the PDF with the multiple tabs data.
Okay, I gotcha. So let me go ahead and get switched over to Studio here. I'm gonna go ahead and reshare my screen here in just a second. So what you're saying is that we have, I'm gonna go ahead and start from a flow here so that we can go ahead and convert it to PDF. Tabs to PDF. We've got a form. We're going to create this little guy. Let's do a simple form here. And then I'm just going to go ahead and drag a button. I'm going to keep this pretty together here. Inside of our tabs, I'm just going to do two different grids on tab A and then tab B, so that we can bring in a text field so that we can actually see what's going on of like why it's not coming through. It's because I don't want a data grid, I want a grid layout. And then we'll just do a label. Text. Same thing over here. All right, so that gives us a little bit on our form with those different tab containers. And then
Like
are you
we
processing?
can have radio button or something like that, or checkbox.
Okay, yeah. You said you've got a checkbox on here too?
Okay.
Cool. We'll go ahead and give this little guy something too. And then are you processing to convert this to PDF inside of decisions?
Come again?
Or are you exporting?
Yeah, from here to the local machine, the laptop.
Say that again. Is it a step you're using or API?
I wanted to download the PDF into the local system, like my laptop, not inside the decision.
Okay, but this entire form you want it to download as a PDF? correct?
Yes. So I want this PDF to be downloaded in my machine.
Okay. Bum, 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 bum. So give me just a second because I know there should be a way we can either we may convert it to PDF and then do a download from there where it automatically downloads. Choose download sample export file to resume exporting. Choose. No, I don't think that's what we're wanting here. There we go. Folder form, no. It's not gonna be different. How do you currently have it set up right now, Vineet? Or have you not really set anything up yet?
In this laptop, I don't have set up.
No? Okay, that's fine. That's okay. And panelists, if you guys have off the top of your heads this step to go ahead and convert it over, please feel free to go ahead and chime in here.
Or Ashley, so this is Mark. What
Hey, Mark.
I've done in the hi, good afternoon. Hey, so what I've done in the past is set the PDF fields and then map those PDF fields from the form, and then take that PDF with the mapped fields from the form and then download it to a folder. But you're going to need a sample PDF.
Yeah. Vineet, do you have a PDF that you're already working off of and we can just pre-fill those fields into that PDF?
Come again, Ashley?
So what Mark's talking about is you'll have like a template of a PDF form. And what we can do inside decisions is from a decisions form where we input that data information, we can go ahead and then map in on basically bookmarks with inside that template that pre-fill that information. Do you have that template PDF at all?
No, I don't have. I just have the
Okay.
form. That's it.
So that may be something we can go ahead and do and set up is, and you can do the same thing with the Word document too. You can go ahead and have that basically template to where we go ahead and process that information inside decisions and capture it on a decisions form and then map it into that template to where it's going to go ahead and pre-fill the information. My team uses this for almost every demo that we go ahead and show, where we actually have a contract that's sent out via DocuSign, but it's a template PDF that has from the user forms inputted all the data into those bookmarks on that PDF. And again, like I said, the same thing could be done for a Word document too. Do you think that would work for you, or is that not going to meet your needs there?
I have no idea, actually. I tried my own way, but I'm unable to do this.
I would recommend doing that first. And I'll go ahead in the meantime too. Maru, if you can go ahead and send me over Vineet's emails, that way when I can go ahead and follow up with him, I can. But I think the way that's going to be the easiest, unless I can find a step that's just going to export this form, would probably to go ahead and to do the mapping into that PDF template. But I'll go ahead and keep searching for a way to go ahead and export the entire form itself. I do feel like there should be a way to go ahead and do that within a flow. But let me go ahead and circle back to you on that. I know we've got a few other questions coming through today. And one of those questions, it looks like everybody's here now. Mentor, I know that you hopped on first. Your question that you pre-submitted, it was to go ahead and you've got a creating a validation rule for the checkbox. Basically, if no equipment is checked, the below fields are not required versus if the no equipment is not checked, they're required, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to kind of switch gears here. I'm going to do a form. We're going to go ahead and build it out real quick. I'm just going to call this validation. And we're gonna go ahead and do this guy here, no equipment. I have a quick question for you, and I probably should have asked Vineet this too. What versions are you guys running on?
I am on 6.2.
6.2. Okay, so you should be working off of legacy flows. Perfect. Vineet, which version are you on, sir?
I'm also using 6 version.
Okay, perfect. So no equipment here. And then we're going to go ahead and do our text box for, I think, was it like a checkpoint or a checkbox for laptop and headset and stuff?
Actually, it was like a multi drop down checkbox list. So like I just chose static and then I had like 4 options in there.
It's like this here, the
Um,
drop down.
It's not. Sorry, let me.
You're good. Yeah. I just want to match this that way we can go ahead and see everything coming through. The list.
Yes, sorry, I didn't realize I was mute all this time.
Yeah. Oh, you're okay. You're okay. So I'm just gonna go ahead and call this equipment. And then we'll go ahead and input this list here. I'm going ahead and put this as a string. And we'll go ahead and make it static. We've got laptop. We've got mouse. And then we've got keyboard. Okay, so working off of here, we're gonna go ahead and look at everything from legacy. I am on 7 here, so you'll notice that we've got active form flows. Don't worry about that for you. We're gonna go ahead and go to validation rules. I'm gonna go ahead and do the create new, and we'll just call this no equipment. We're gonna bring that no equipment checkbox in, so that should actually be a Boolean version. We're gonna set up our rule here. Select data element, go ahead and check that little guy. And we'll see if no equipment is true, then we're gonna go ahead and make the fields down below not required. The wording on this is very particular. So if you say is true, that means we're not gonna make the bottom like required. If this is false, then the bottom would be required. And then we're gonna go ahead and give it a name. So no equipment.
Actually,
We're gonna go ahead and
I am so sorry. So the no equipment was actually like in the list, like for the equipment list. I don't have that as like a separate Boolean.
oh, it's all one list.
Yes, it's all one list. So if it's like if the user chooses no equipment, they don't have to. I have another 3 number box fields for the estimate. They don't have to fill out those.
Okay. I think we might need to have it separate. The reason being is because for your validation rules, we have to apply them to controls. Those different controls are going to be your elements. So if it's one checkbox, we're going to apply it to one control there. This guy here is going to be considered one control, even though it's got a list inside of it. I think version 7 will be able to go ahead and do active form flows where we can actually build that out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, give me just a second. Let me see.
Mm-hmm. Because I was able to get to the working where like if I choose no equipment, it does not require the 3 fields. But if I choose like, for example, laptop or keyboard, that's when it's like, it makes it required. But whenever I like
For the no equipment down below?
yes, it works like fine with that. It's just like, it's not working where to the point, like, it's just not catching that there's values in there. So even when I'm submitting it, it's like, hey, you still haven't filled out these fields.
For when you do which selection?
For laptop or mouse or keyboard.
And it tells you you haven't input in any information for the no equipment?
Not no equipment, like the fields that I have, like I have three separate fields. So I have one list which have keyboard, mouse, laptop, no equipment, which is like a
Mhm.
checkbox list. And then I have three separate fields, the number boxes, which are like, hey, estimate 1 for keyboard, estimate 2 for mouse, estimate 3 for laptop. So if the user choose from that checkbox list, no equipment, those three bottom number boxes should not be required. I wish like I can show you the picture, but I know we can't like share screen, so I'm sorry.
Ashley, you're on mute.
Oh my goodness, I've literally been talking this entire time. Thank you for letting me know.
You're welcome. I figured you'd be talking right through it.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
So we'll bring in that input variable for the equipment and say if it contains laptop. We'll do, what I was saying is that we'll actually do a validation for each one and kind of take it through this way of setting those different controls.
Gotcha. And then you don't have to set it up as a list, right? Because we're doing it as separate, each one.
I'm gonna say no right now. Let me work through it. That might be a yes.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So update the inputs here. And we're going to bring it in from form. So that should be. Here, just a second. We're gonna give it a little bit of data so it saves right now. I'm just gonna go ahead and see what we call this equipment checkbox list. So yes, to answer your question, it might need to be a list. We'll go ahead and redo that here real quick. Edit rule. Or so I'm trying to process inside of my head because it's checkboxes if it need to be Boolean. Or if we need to keep it as a string and put it as a list. We'll try string as a list first and see if it likes us. And we'll recheck this guy. Keep that laptop. We'll actually test this first and then go to the next controls. All right, so back it up a step. See, it's going to go ahead and So I'm wondering if we need to take this off of it being a list and save here. My only thing is when we do that, it might come back a little funny. This is just going to be true or false. Is there any particular reason why you kept it all as like a checkbox list there versus different checkbox items?
Oh, that's how like the business users want it because, and it's also kind of like, because I have so many checkbox, it would be like a bunch of different lists and it would be, because I have everything has input data. That's why.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm going to change this back to string real quick and put it as a list real quick because I didn't update the inputs before. So we're going to retry this here. Let's see. The inputs. Yeah, there we go. All right. So now that we've got the inputs ready, we're going to go ahead and apply to the controls. So this is for the laptop. So we'll do the laptop estimate. So as long as equipment equals laptop. Let me see how I have the rule. Then we want to go ahead and show it. Triggers, we want to go ahead and do the equipment checkbox here. And then we're going to test this. I have a funny feeling that we need to flip this where it says it shows versus or like is required. Let's test her out though. I have a button. All right, we're gonna go ahead and let this little guy refresh real quick. Come back into that assignments flow and see. All right. Grab that form again for us then. There we go, there's a submit button. Let's go ahead and take a look. So laptop, it's probably initially enabled for all. Let's go ahead and see. Optional here. And just make these little guys optional. Try again. Nope. All right. Pull up our validation again. Validation. Coming through, it's coming through the equipment there. Apply to the controls for the laptop estimate. That looks good there. Triggers is when that's changed. The only thing I think of is the verbiage here is what needs to change. So that's what I'm doing is just playing around with the verbiage to see exactly which verb we need in here to go ahead and make this a validation. Just to make sure I'm on the right page, Mansoor, is this kind of the same pathway you've had so far?
I did, but for example, like I had just a rule where it says if equipment is if equipment equals no, if equipment list contains no equipment, then I had it apply to controls where the last three, for example, the three fields will
Mhm.
be required. So I was kind of
Gotcha.
running the opposite way, and it would
Gotcha.
work. It's like, I don't know why is it doing that with me, like requiring it every single time.
Did you go through for inside of here? So this right here, make sure that outcome scenario is optional. Otherwise, it will go ahead and kind of like overrule the validation rules there. Is yours optional?
Yes, both of them. I have
Yeah,
saved
okay.
later and
Okay.
some.
Cool. So, let's go back in here. I'll go ahead and set it up the way you've got it because that would be probably just one versus a few different rules. That would be smarter.
That's good. Thank you.
Equipment is so all I'm doing here is adding this not. So if the equipment list does not contain no equipment, then we want those required. And then we can go ahead and apply it to, because we're setting up this validation. We're gonna go ahead and edit inputs, just make sure it's coming the way we want it to from equipment there. We're good there. We're gonna go ahead and apply the controls, the laptop, the mouse, and the keyboard estimate. Whenever that is triggered here. Let's give it a try. Let's give it a whirl. What if I do no equipment? Ah. Well, let me change that not and see if it works that way. There we go. Okay. And when I click on no equipment, these aren't valid now.
Is it possible?
So,
Sorry.
do you want me to walk through it again?
Just a quick thing. Can you put in some values and then if you click submit, would it still like make you put more values in it? Just like randomly, because that's what like my biggest issue is. And they're still red. Like I don't know why is it still making it required, even you have text in it.
Oh, so this is the issue you have right here is where it's like
Mhm.
cross. Interesting. Okay. These are optional though. We have values inside of there. Panelists, if you guys have any thoughts or comments of something to try, please go ahead and let me know. I'm gonna go back through and just kind of check all these settings here to make sure that they are right. One. So we want it to be fatal there. Want the list to contain no equipment. Okay. On the bugger just one more time. Monster, let me go ahead and play with this a little bit, because as soon as you enter text inside here, that validation should render, it should go away. I'm not quite sure why it's not, because what I was doing over here in the background, as I had everything pulled up, I went to the debugger and actually went to that rule that we were seeing for the validation. And every time I changed it on the form here is exactly what we're seeing over here in these checkboxes. So finally, when I went ahead and had it come back through as no equipment and run it back true, and you'll see that as we go ahead and do this right here, that's exactly what it's looking at, is the no equipment. So you guys are just ready to go ahead and stump me today. We've got all the hard questions being broken out.
Do you think would it help if I did try to do that, like setting up each value, for example, text box in the rule too, to check if it is empty or not. But in my case, it didn't work either. But I just really don't know why is it still showing even if the the text field is filled.
If I might
You know
interject,
what?
I think that's because your rule is requiring the no equipment checkbox to clear the validation.
Yeah, that's what I was
So
about to say. I
even
wonder if we
still,
need to
it's
reverse
still
it.
requiring it. Because there's no rule saying if it's filled, then turn off the validation.
So what if we did the values were your laptop, your mouse, and keyboard? Is that what we're talking about, Jeremy? Or am I on a different thought
No,
process?
I think that this has to be more into it. You can't do, I don't think you can do this with a single rule, because the rule is only going to validate off the option that you check, regardless of if there's text in the field, because it doesn't care. It is not looking at the text in the field. It's only looking at that checkbox to be valid. So, because the rule says if no equipment is checked, then they're not valid. So if no equipment is never checked, then the validation remains.
Mhm.
So you have to have another rule or another flow that then looks at the field. Okay, this is required. Is it filled? If so, then it turns off the validation.
Mansoor, is that kind of what you were saying that you tried to go ahead and do though? Of having those multiple validations set up on top of each other?
I did, but I had it in the same rule. I haven't tried that way, like how Jeremy said. I tried it putting it into the same rule. And I guess like I overruled a lot of things because it was like, oh, you want me to do this and that.
Vinny, I see that you went ahead and had another question of you didn't understand how to do your use case. Let me go ahead and send you an email and I'll attach some documents too to go ahead and show you. What I was talking about there is that basically you'll have a template that's already got some pre-filled information on there. So it could be things like on a form, you'll see a label on there. That would be part of a template for your PDF. And what happens is in that blank spot for a PDF, so kind of like a contract that we normally have, we would go ahead and set that as a bookmark and then have decisions go ahead and pre-fill that information and export it that way. Like I said, let me go ahead and follow up with you a little bit more on that. And let's see if there's a different way we can go ahead and export a decisions forms with that tab container to where it's going to be shown for you. We have not, no. The site is not empty. So let's go ahead and set up mouse estimate 2. Not till there. And then mouse there. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and apply the controls for the laptop estimate, the mouse estimate, and then the keyboard estimate. And our triggers is going to be that equipment box there. Oh, nope. Our triggers is going to be the actual text boxes itself. We want to validate on the text box. So we're going to go ahead and click these 3 guys. We're going to type text. Oh, I don't think this is going to be what I want. Nope. All right, hang on just a second. So what I noticed when we debugged is that it had 2. So I think what's happening is the first validation is still there. We just need to go ahead and have it cancel it out, basically. Outcome rules. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening is when we go ahead and set up 2 validations on it, it sees both, it recognizes one, and once we've got text in there, it goes ahead and clears out that the warning. But for that first one, it's still being applied. So we need a way to go ahead and override it. So If you were on 7 or 8, I would say maybe active form flows would be better, but on 6, we have to stick down here with our legacy flows. And we want it to be validation and have it break versus give just a warning because we don't want them to proceed without the estimator up here. Let me put a pin in this. I know we've got a few other questions. Is Alex still on here? Mansoor, go ahead and post your email inside of the chat feature too. Let's go ahead and follow up with you on this because what we're needing is basically a order to the validation rules to where once we have this text box field validation, it cancels this validation up here and basically overrides it. So let me go ahead and kind of get back with you on that as well too, just so that way we can take a better look at that of how to set that up for you. Okay.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And Alex, awesome. So it looks like you also submitted a few questions for us. Let me go ahead and get over there. I am going to have a hard stop about 5 minutes before the half hour there, just to go ahead and prepare for another meeting after this. But some of the questions that you had is what is the best way to handle the need for multiple parallel approvals in a process where if the approver who saw the task first does reject it, the others do not need to even look at it anymore. Alex, do you mind coming off mute and telling me a little bit more about that?
Hi, Ashley.
Hey.
What I'm looking for is something that, imagine a form that needs to be approved by, say, 3 people, right? And only if all 3 approve it, then the form is considered approved. But if any of them rejects it, the form should be rejected. Now, because it's parallel, doesn't matter which one picks up the form first. And by the way, it doesn't matter what the form says, right? It's irrelevant at this point.
Yeah, gotcha.
I think that it should be the other way around. The form should be shown first, so you have something to approve, right? Or this is a task that you're assigning.
So you tell me, you said that there was like assignments in parallel, right? And if
Yes,
even
yes,
one
this
person
will-
goes ahead and
yeah, this
denies
will be-
this and it goes to on the deny path?
Correct. So these
Gotcha.
3, say for example, there are 3 paths there, or 2, doesn't matter. Actually, 2 is enough. Anything that is more than 1 is enough. So the thing here is, if the first one that picks it up denies it, you want the other one who received a task, right? That task, because it's parallel, it's already in the task list of the second role. That task list should be somehow removed. If obviously if the task is still unfinished, right? And if the person approved it, then life continues as normal. Does that make sense what I said?
Yeah, so this guy here, say it goes down to submit, it's approved, then we'll make sure that the rest of the people can go ahead and fill out the form versus if it's denied, you want basically that assignment to disappear. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so
Parallel, right? I could solve this easily by serializing, right? If the first one denies it, then that's it. But because these are parallel tasks, I want everybody to be able to take it.
so what I'm thinking is, are you working with a process folder at all?
Yeah.
Perfect. Where do you have that process folder inside of your flow?
What do you mean? Well, before.
Are you using a branch step as well? Is it before your branch step?
I have not reached this point because I wanted to know if there is any pattern that is, best practices before sending the approval in parallel.
So what's going to happen is, try to copy paste. This is going to be our deny. This up here is our approve. And we're all going to go ahead and connect it to the done step here. You could also do a merge step. That would work too. I'm just going to go ahead and do done so we can keep talking through.
Mhm.
This right here, we can go ahead and put to assigned. It's going to go ahead and go to our assignees. So I'm going to do the first one as admin. I'm going to do the second one as Raquel. Raquel. There you go. So that way we see that's going to be two different people.
Mhm.
We can go ahead and do like review assignment. I'm gonna go ahead and put that action name for both little guys here. And then for this state, we can go ahead and mark it as approved. What we can do is actually have it look back for the assignment and say, hey, if this is approved or completed, then it kind of comes back to the process folder and it sets that state within inside the process folder. So that way the next person, when they click on that task, it's already going to be completed for them. They're not able to complete that. They can only view the completed assignment. I was working on this earlier, which is how I found this path for you. Now to go ahead and stop it even coming to that next person, I'll have to do a little bit more digging because what happens, and when we actually watch this run, I'm gonna go ahead and pick this parent folder right here for us. And then we're going to just say review, make all of our validations happy just real quick here. And then this is going to be denied. Okay. When we debug here, yeah, doesn't like something. Ah, sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and go down this path to our process folder and then branch out into those different forms or that have the assignments attached to them. What happened is this one was going to that other person versus this one is going to me, which is why I saw it populate right here. Now, if I go ahead and do submit, so it's going to go down our approved path. Raquel here should have an assignment in their inbox, but they're only going to be able to see a completed form. So I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate out my tab. Probably not going to like me because I'm going to have to sign out here. So in the inbox here, that's the one I just submitted for the review. All we're able to do is view that completed form. So it technically still went to the inbox, but they're not able to take any actions on it. We could set it up to where it's still going to go through if it's like we can just say like next assigner or something versus like completely closing out that assignment for you. It just is going to depend on the action item or name you have. But as far as doing, I'd almost say instead of it being parallel, you'd almost want it sequential there. And that's where it's going to get a little confusing is trying to do parallel, but sequentially for first approver. If it's in one group, that's awesome. We can go ahead and work with that. But it's where your next question says that they are going to be inside different groups. Right?
Yep, they are.
Yep. Okay.
Actually, they must be in different groups.
Okay. May I ask why?
Because when the form is submitted for a review, you want two different type of roles in the organization to concur in the approval. If everybody is from the same group, that is not sufficient for compliance purposes.
Could your users be a part of multiple groups?
Pardon me?
Can your users be a part of multiple groups? Meaning they have their department group, but they also have a group called approvers?
Yeah, potentially. But I need to ensure that the approvals are provided by two different departments, by people who are approvers from two different departments.
Okay.
There has to be some pattern for this. I'm probably not the first one who needs an approval like this.
Yeah, my next question for you, what type of data structure are you using?
For what, sorry?
You said you haven't started creating this process yet,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
the data structure will be a process folder. So because it has to go, the flow is a little bit more complicated than what I'm presenting here. I just put in for the question the piece of the flow that matters to me, or sorry, that I didn't know how to do. But the ultimately it is a process flow.
Okay.
It could have been a case, frankly, but then I would have to remove all the manual ability to change the state that users might have.
Okay. So the other thing I had is one of the things I was starting to work in is for the assignment setup, for the assignments events to start this flow, maybe doing a private flow where it goes ahead and checks, hey, has the state been changed on this request, this assignment request for you? But where that kind of gets a little hairy is because it goes out at the same time, how we'd be able to go ahead and update that in real time, which I think you might be able to do like a little subflow that goes ahead and checks like updates within your data structure there for these states. But again, this is something I think I'm going to need just a little bit more time with. You don't have any tickets out right now for this, do you?
No.
Okay.
I can open one up. By the way,
I think
is there any,
go ahead.
I was thinking, is there any step to remove a task once it's been assigned? Because putting that flow, sorry, that form, that assignment form that you have in your flow behind this, yeah, each of those forms is actually a task that is assigned to someone, right? Or at least that's how I understand it. So is there any way to remove that task from the other path when the top path, for example, denies the form?
So that's what we're trying to work through here with you. From what I've seen, no, but I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to go ahead and exhaust all options before I give you that full on no answer. Just because I don't know how to do it myself doesn't mean it's not possible. So let me keep going through and seeing if there's a way. Number one, we can go ahead and have, I think the hardest part of this is that you want to run in parallel. If it was sequential, this would be pretty easy to go through. But it's that parallel motion that's going to make it a little bit very complex. So let me go ahead, say we're right here where I need to probably jump off here in a few seconds. Again, I think we've already got your email from me pre-submitting that question, but if you want to go ahead and drop your email in chat, let's go ahead and follow up with you. And if we need to do any sort of support tickets or anything like that so we can work through this stuff, I'll go ahead and work with you to make sure that we've got a ticket set up so that way someone can go ahead and sit down and work with you through your entire process. And that way it allows you to share your screen on that call and so forth too. So I definitely want to go ahead and make sure everybody gets their answers or questions answered. I'm just not able to go ahead and do all of it here today with us, and I've got to jump. So if go ahead and watch your email. I'll be following up with you guys.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ashley.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much for everybody who attended today. And if you need anything, go ahead and let us know.
And sorry, you don't need me to open a ticket for this, do you?
Not yet. I want to go ahead and ask around just a little bit more, and then I'll go ahead and touch base with you, and I'll let you
Okay.
know in a follow-up if we need to do a support ticket. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys.
Bye now.
Bye.